Does everybody have their neighbor here? Look around, is your neighbor here?
Is anybody missing?
The person that lives within your house? Okay, sorry. We wanted to just spend a little time and talk about Larry and our thoughts and our memories of him, because as a family, we've never all been in the same room at the same time and been able to talk about him since he died. So if you, in just a minute, we'll start with Grandma Pete, and then it's just gonna kind of go in sibling order, and then if any of you would like to, or anybody else would like to, and then the last person will be Marie. So Marie, we as mom and Larry's brother and sisters, we wanted to give you something that would help you think of us remembering him and you remembering him. I don't think you're going to be able to read this, but it's kind of an important part of it. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and open the present and I'll read the card. Carol did the card. Okay, here.
Tied the ribbon.
Yeah. I tied the ribbon the way my brother Larry taught me to.
So you're not
So
going to
you're
tell
taught
us
you
another
to
word?
tape. Impossible.
The tape, I think I was self-taught.
At least I used that.
You can tear the paper, you won't have it. You're not gonna have it, baby.
No.
More cake. I don't need all your good news.
Oh, she got it now.
Oh, that's cool paper.
Thank you.
Okay, so these two things happened independently. We had decided to get you a wind chime.
I love wind chimes.
And then, when we were talking about it, Carol pulled up a text that she got from Damon. So, surprisingly, this is coming from Damon. Who knew? Okay, so, dear Marie, we wanted you to have something that would remind you that we love you. We hope when you hear the chimes, you'll remember Larry, and then remember we're holding you in our heart, keeping you in our prayers, and most importantly, we're forever grateful for the love and care that you provided for Larry. A few days ago, Carol and I were talking. She showed me a text that she received from Damon about a month ago. We thought we'd share his thoughts with you. So these were Damon's thoughts, or what he had texted his mom, not knowing that we have a wind chime for you. A year ago, my oldest brother died. A very good friend gave me a wind chime to remember him. I put it on a shelf and I left it there. I didn't leave it there because I didn't like it. I left it there because it was just too hard to think about. This May, I decided to hang it on a tree in the front yard. Right now, I'm sitting in my office and I hear it chiming. I'm amazed that every time I hear it, I remember. I remember his smile. I remember his charity. I remember how much he loved his children. I remember his faith. I remember how much I love him and how much he loves me. Most of all, I remember how fortunate I was to have him in my life. I love these chimes. We hope you'll love your chimes too. Mom, Carol, Bev, Kenny, Larry, Jane.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Beautiful.
Hey, Mom.
She makes tears.
I thought you had a horse bed.
Help.
Over
I
here.
thought you had a microphone.
We can hear you
We
okay.
can hear you fine.
They said they could hear you, Mom.
I have to sit. I can't do it stand.
He can hear you just fine.
We can still hear you.
Debbie?
George Larry Stephenson came into this world from a pre-mortal experience, an existence where he knew God and conversed with him, turned face to face, a one-on-one, just like any man would talk to another. He enjoyed that condition, but he wanted to be more like God. He was told that that was possible. He could be, but he would have to do it on his own. God would send him to earth to prove himself. He would have no memory of his blessings here in the premortal existence. He could pray to Heavenly Father, and Heavenly Father would hear him and answer his prayer as he, Heavenly Father, saw the whole picture. So Larry chose. He gave up his memories, except for a few, like Moses and the brother of Jared, and a few others, to be a martyr here among men. He was an easy baby to care for. At that time, all photography was in black and white, and I had learned to be a photographer, retoucher. I don't suppose there's none in here who even know what that is. It was a hard work and took much of my time, but I could do it at home, and it sure helped our financial needs. I would put Larry in the playpen, and Carol and Ben would be his babysitters until I had finished my quota of babies for the various studios. George had a couple of cousins who lived in the same neighborhood, and they would come to play with the girls. They loved Larry, loved girls, excuse me, and would make a fat curl across the top of his head and put a ball of cotton in it and call it a cream puff. He enjoyed his school years, which ran from kindergarten through, I believe, one semester at BYU. Finances were a problem. He had school buddies. Ones I remember were Jack Clay and George Snyder and somebody Carter, all non-members. His only church chum was Dave Liggett. All were good kids. He served a mission in the Northwest, mostly in Washington State. He did a stint in the Marine Reserves, and we took this time to make it a vacation and go to Los Angeles and pick him up and go to visit at Marine. So he got to meet a few of the other side of the family a little bit. He took piano lessons from a crotchety old man who would hit his knuckles with a ruler if he made a mistake. Larry would just shrug his shoulders and go on. On on one of the many visits we came to Danville to visit the farm, which is now Stratford, Larry followed Aunt Mary to the garden. He stayed right behind her, and when she heard him say, "It's a Katie I see," she turned to see all of her newly planted onions lying on the ground. She was not a happy clapper. One summer, peaches were plentiful, and I had got several bushels to can, and had made a production line in the garage with Larry, Deb, Carol, and me, peeling peaches and getting ready to process. When Aunt Betty, the finicky one, showed up unexpectedly. In the excitement, we did not miss Larry until he appeared in his Sunday best clothes, which was a little pair of short pants, a white button shirt, and a little tie. He looked adorable until you saw the peach jam running down his cheeks, in his hair, on his elbow, on his knees. But he had welcomed Aunt Betty. Tuesday nights were MIA. I would go as president of the Young Ones Association and pick up several kids and take them to Prospectorville. Prospectorville was the other side of Fountain Square, so it was quite a drive. One night, after going to Mutual, on the way home, about 8 blocks from the church, Roger says, "Where's Larry?" We found him sitting on the steps waiting patiently. Well, with a carload of noisy kids, it was easy to lose one. He was not a quarrelsome child, and baby Jane to the fullest. She could get him to do anything. His professions were varied, from making rubber bands to jewelry making. I even remember some old dog and son's days. Don't remember how long, maybe a summer or maybe just a few weeks. He worked with Uncle Ted herding cattle. I think he worked with his dad's son on the farm, daily hay. Mostly, though, he was a salesman and sold beauty supplies a number of years. He and George both did this. I had no needs for shampoo or face cream, and Larry could always fix my hair in style that was good. I'm confident that there are 2 degrees of heaven, paradise, and the prison spirit. Paradise is the portion of heaven that the righteous are welcome into. And the spirit prison is a place of gloom and doom and darkness for those who are unworthy. I'm convinced that if you wanted to find Larry now, you would find him in paradise, preaching the mission to those in prison cells, spirit prison, doing missionary work for those who would receive it here on earth. I'm very convinced that he is happy and doing well. Amen. Okay.
Well, I tell you this, but she already did. I'm one of the ones that made the girl
Can't hear you.
put the cotton ball in. When Larry came back from his mission, Donna was a brand new baby. And I'm not quite sure at this time, except he came to visit and she was about 6 weeks old. And all of a sudden that baby was just as happy. That baby was just happy and good. And I went in to see what was happening. There sat Larry with Donna on his lap, feeding her a lemon supper. Larry,
6 weeks.
well, she was 6.
I bet she was.
I went with him several times to LA when he did his flower shows and help him. And one night we were gonna go eat and we decided, hey, there's this restaurant called Monkeys. Now, doesn't that sound simple? Well, we drive up in our work clothes. We get out and there's this guy in this tuxedo stuff and wanted to park our car. Okay. We got out and they took our car, the valet took our car. We went in and this was a glorious, fancy dancy restaurant. And we sat down, they ushered us in and sat us down and gave us the napkin across our lap and then handed us the menu and we looked at it and our eyes were, a cup of shark's soup was $18. And Larry looked at me and he says, Carol, I said, Larry, and what do we do? He says, don't you have to go to the restroom? And so I was sent to the restroom and then when I didn't come back because I had gone outside, he told the maitre d' or whoever it was, he had to go find his sister. And we went out and then we had to find our car because we didn't park it.
Oh.
So we ended up, I think we had crackers for supper then. There was no place open to buy groceries. And I'd wake up, when we'd be there, I'd wake up in the night because there'd be a light on and Larry'd be on his bed sitting there eating chocolate chip cookies or Oreos because he woke up hungry.
In the middle of the night.
In the middle of the
Yeah.
night, yeah. And we were doing.
Never did end that.
Some things never change.
No, not that.
And he told me, I think maybe you saw, that I was the only one he knew that could kill plastic flowers.
It
So
wasn't.
now I make paper ones.
That's good. Cause you do a good job on those.
So I was never, never unhappy when I was around him. He always made me feel like everything was gonna be okay. With safety with him, except when I was eating. He seemed to think the food on my plate was better than his.
It's not just yours, it was everybody's plate.
But I have no bad memories. Everything is good.
Larry. About Larry. I have a few things here to say. One thing, first of all, Larry was never afraid to work.
No.
He was a hard-working guy.
He was.
And he was always looking for ways to make money.
Yep.
So, for instance, he did the flower and patio show. Long nights, long nights. We worked late.
Yep.
he did the gift and hobby show. Long nights. And we'd no more shut down that whatever you call it, and it was time to open it again, it seemed like. One night he asked me to take Marie home. She lived in Kokomo. And so I said, sure, I'll take her home. So going up there, we laughed and talked, and I got to her house to let her out, but I was so tired. When I came out
There
of
are
her
two
house,
turns. Two. That's it.
I drove and I kept seeing these signs for Rochester, and I thought, am I in New York? Anyway. Then there was the 500-mile race. This was particularly memorable because this just shows you how creative he was. He couldn't drive a car because he couldn't get a sponsor, so he's going to have to figure out something else. So he got pasta, painted it, and strung it, and made these cute necklaces.
Oh,
bracelets,
yeah. We
pins.
didn't paint it. We strung it though.
Yeah. However, it was hot.
And somebody went
Muddy.
swimming.
And it was not cooked. So these big old burly guys wearing this cute little necklace, hot and sweaty, and it was like it began to cook around her neck. And they came back and all wanted their money back. I don't know why.
We forgot to tell them don't swim.
Yeah, they all came back.
We didn't make many of those after that.
He had a paper route. This was years and years ago. I lived in Plainfield, and a lot of times Jane and Larry and I would end up at my house doing something with flowers, doing something, who knows what. We'd work and we'd laugh and sing along with the radio, and the Carpenters were one of our favorites. And the next thing we knew, the sun was coming up, and he had to deliver these papers. So he said, I'll take the ones to Danville, and you take the ones here in Plainfield. Okay. So got the bike out, and it had a little seat on the back. And I put Tracy in the little seat on the back, and started going
I
off
can just
throwing
see
papers
you.
every which way. And little did I know that seat on the back wasn't attached to anything, and so he had fallen backwards.
Abuse.
Explains a lot, doesn't it?
I'd do anything for Larry, whatever he wanted, I'd do it. And I was like Cheryl, I was never unhappy around Larry. I was never unhappy. He was the
One of a kind.
He was a good guy. And then there's a side of Larry that I don't know, maybe other people know this side, but as a youngster, when we lived in Indianapolis, I had a tendency to want to play in Dad's shop out in the barn with his tools. And nothing was impossible to me. And I was trying to saw a 2x4 with one of these little hacksaws that little tiny blade. And so it didn't break. And I had already broken one. And I was so upset because Dad was going to be so mad. So Larry said, well, tell Dad I did it. Oh, yeah. And then he won't get mad at you. So I don't know whether Dad believed that story or not, but
Probably not.
it worked for me twice. I tried to figure out a way for him to take the blame for the holes in the piano, but I had to take that one all by myself.
What about the one with a hole in the arm of the chair? Where Where'd that come from? Was that you? The rocker?
I know what you're talking about.
It's still there.
Yeah, that's all.
They tried to fill it in, but he scratched it back
That's all
out.
good. Larry was the kind of guy that everybody would want for a brother. I go to my carving club, and there's a girl in my carving club that dated Larry when they were in high school.
Oh, really?
And Carol Schultz, remember Carol? I forget why they broke up. Something about the Marines and anyway, she'll take any opportunity she can to tell me that he was the love of her life.
No way.
Yes, in the way.
No, he's the love of mine.
Well, she let you have it.
Good of her.
She lost him, and you got him, or whatever. Anyway, she just has nothing but praises to sing about him, and I've never known anybody that had anything bad to say about Larry.
I know, woman.
Except maybe the Marines.
Well, there was that Jello, that
Oh,
bag
yeah,
of Jello.
Whole thing.
When he was in the Marines, he fell into a bag of Jello, and
It was supposed to be for a bunch of colonels or
Yeah.
something big.
He was getting the lettuce.
I don't know what he was doing, but he
And
wound
he
up
lost his
in.
ballot, he was selling the added jello.
Oh,
And they still served
it was a bit gritty, but they ate it.
you like never got out, so
I don't think they let him do that anymore.
I don't think so, but anyway. I was always very, very proud of Larry. And very proud to call him my brother. Oh, really hard to have anything written on them, so. Lucky for you.
You're looking at me, aren't you?
Yep. You're right at you.
I mean, there's always little things that you remember about somebody that really don't mean anything, but every time you see that person, it kind of pops in your mind. I always remember when I was real little, this road out here was gravel, and somehow or another, he'd set me up on handlebars with bike, and we'd ride on the gravel road. If you want to go place, you could have gravel. I just knew he was gonna guide me up in that gravel, but he never did. And for some reason, that comes to mind, and I also remember that riding a lawnmower, but it was broken. Dad told us to use a push mower to get that yard mowed. And it was getting kind of high. I couldn't start it, I wasn't making nothing. So he started, and I was supposed to push my share. I figured out if you pushed it real hard, you'd catch it. After about the third time of getting him kind of started, he caught over it. And I also remember when he was in band, he played the tuba. And the thing I remember most about that is when he would practice, the faces that my dad would make. It was a little hard to put up with, but he practiced it. Good guy.
So I can remember being young, like very young, and people saying that Larry spoiled me. And I can remember completely agreeing, like, yes, that is, you're right, he does. I was surprised that that had just dawned on them. I knew that anything, anywhere, I just had to name it, and Larry would make sure I got it. I knew that all of my life. And it wasn't, maybe it was to you all, but to me it wasn't the spoiled brat thing. It was, I knew that he loved me. There has been a bond between Larry and I that I just, as I thought about it, you know, these last few weeks, that it's hard to put that kind of thing into words. There, just like the rest of us, there is nobody I would rather go see or spend time with or have call me on the phone. I remember the day that he left the doctor's office. I was doing a seminary lesson at the counter, and he called and he said, I have cancer. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah, it's the same as Dad's. And he goes, I think I might die. And I said, that's crazy. Dad's was a lot more places, and that wasn't the first primary site, but I do remember that. I remember him just matter-of-factly saying, I think I might die. And I think what strikes me about that is that isn't something Larry would say. Whatever situation I ever found him in, or he found himself in, he was gonna get out of it. He was, you know, it was always just around the corner. It was just about to happen, and it was gonna be good. And I think what made Larry so enjoyable for us is that sometimes you knew it wasn't good and it wasn't great, and that things were being a challenge, but that isn't what he wanted to talk about. He wanted to talk about his kids, then his grandkids, or us and our kids. And I think that's why when he said that, it struck me so hard. It was the first time in my life that I had ever heard him say, this might not go good. He's always been able to say, it'll be fine, it'll be great.
It'll be all right.
There are a lot of things I know because of Larry that may seem very odd, but they seemed as normal as could be to me. One time when I was in high school, we had to march at a Pacer game, the twirlers and the pom-pom girls. Well, we had this big overnight suitcase full of makeup that had to be so disgusting looking back on it. Well, you would just put on more mascara, and then they would say, put some more on. So you just grab it out of this hideous germ-filled bag. Well, in about 3 days, my eyelashes, my real eyelashes, completely were gone. The reason I wear false eyelashes and the reason I know how to put them on is because at 16, my brother Larry taught me how to do it. He looked at me and he said, you can't go out like that. And I said, I'm a little worried. And he said, here's what we're gonna do. And we sat up that night until I figured out how to do it. And I don't think I ever missed a day of wearing my eyelashes to school. Even after they grew back in, I was so afraid they'd fall back out that I just had always worn eyelashes. But my daughters would always say, you can put those on in the car. And I said, because Uncle Larry taught me how to do it. He bought me my first strapless bra and said, it's too big, I know, but we're gonna stuff it. And I said, okay. I would just go right along with it because it was Larry and it had to be right. But I do look back at that picture and say, might have been a little too much stuffing. I can remember he had a job working for Mr. Softy, which was an ice cream truck. And just more than anything, I just always wanted to be with him. So I would go, when he sold beauty supplies, I would go. And so I wanted to go on the ice cream truck. And so we had this plan, and I was going to go. And then I got bored, and it wasn't anywhere near time to come home. We had not done enough dime cones yet. And so he stopped at a store, and he bought me a paint by number kit. So he rigged this thing up on the console, which is the shifting thing of this truck. And the whole day I painted on an ice cream truck. But, you know, that's what would make me happy, so that's what he would do. He's, I think, been a tremendous influence in my life. some days I have to say to myself, he's really gone. He really didn't make it. But I also know that he went with everyone that he loved loving him. And I think that's a great thing to be able to say at the end of your life. I'll leave, and the people I love, I know love me. And that's very true. So, Andy? Are you? Andy.
I'm gonna.
Oh, Andy. I remember you.
Funny enough, the very first time I ever met Larry was at a fair. It was actually the Monroe County Fair. He was sitting in a booth, and Mindy had run off to do something, and we were just kind of manning the booth together for whatever reason, and he tells me to sit down and play a game with him. And apparently Larry's favorite thing in the world was to sit down and play the game where you do the two-color marbles or Pente, or form of Othello, and kick the absolute crap out of everyone he loved to play. It was his way of kind of welcoming them in. And I sat down, played a game with him, and he won. I said, okay, that's pretty good. He goes, want to go in? I said, sure. And I beat him. And I beat him the second game. And I beat him the third game. And then he beat me one back. And then I beat him the next one. And then he pulled 3. And then I got 2. And it just, and by the end of it, we each ended with 15 games. And it was like, Mindy had just disappeared off face of the earth. We had no idea. He's like, I don't know if she's coming back. And it was like, it doesn't matter. We've got a good game going. And about an hour and a half later, we're finally finishing up. And he looks at me and he goes, you know, I've never had anybody play this hard against me. And I'm like, oh, okay. He goes, you're a lot smarter than the other one. Maybe she should keep you.
Oh, thank God.
Well, and we were not a thing. We were friends.
We're dating yet.
And it was like, okay, this is not a good conversation.
The other one was a slug, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, but I only knew him as the boyfriend. I didn't know him as the slug or all the other internals. So I ended up over several months helping with different things with the family, even coming up to build garden walls a couple weekends with Larry. And it was very interesting. I very quickly learned that Larry had a wonderful sense of humor, a love of life, and maybe one of the purest faith in God I had ever encountered. I could tell that he had faced trials and that he had dealt with things that would have crushed other people, and yet had walked out of that with a belief in God that, you know, quote, men of the cloth could do nothing but envy. And when we finally decided to get married, I asked him if he had any advice for us. And he said, well, faith in God will lead you, prayer will guide you, but I can give you 3 simple rules for living with Mindy. And I said, hide? And he goes, no, but that's a good one to remember. He said, don't ever fight when you're angry. Don't ever fight to win. And never start a fight unless you know why you want to talk about it in the first place. Because the first will make you angrier, the second will do nothing but hurt, and the third will never lead to what you were trying to prove in the first place, but will harm both of you more than you can ever repair. And that's something I have just never let go.
I start the plans.
We're gonna be
Yeah.
We're Eva.
Yeah,
She's learning a lot.
I mean,
She teleported.
he was a great father and a good partner in business. And he helped me grow in ways that I didn't think I'd be able to grow. And just, a good example. He was definitely a good man and was a good husband. see each other again, just for a short time.
Oh man, where do we start? He was my scare buddy. We would do scare competitions. Marie would somehow end up in the middle of it, and I'd jerk her back, and we'd have to stop for a day or two, and then we'd go back at it. But yeah, no, he was definitely a scare buddy. Yeah, I mean, if we ever did anything that we knew one of these two wasn't like, we'd always blame the other one because we two can't stay mad at each other. So we would always just be like, you know, kind of like, he'll take the blame for you. No, we threw it on these two. It was Ryan's idea or it was Marie's, but whichever. It was never our fault though. But yeah, no, he was fun to live with. I never thought I'd live with my in-laws, but he made it fun. She's not too bad, but he always made it fun. I mean, yeah, we had some disagreements and stuff, but there wasn't anything we couldn't work through. And so yeah, I think if I can live with them, then I can surely make it through with him. So that's how I look at it.
Okay, I'm gonna try. I don't know if I'll make it through her. So, Daddy never told me no. You all know that. You all saw me come home with more animals. And, I mean, Dad sent Mom with me to look at a horse because he knew she'd say no, and he wouldn't. And we came home with 2 horses. And that was her fault, not my fault. But, you know, Daddy's solution to me being sad was, here's a kitten, here's a duck, here's a goat, you know, here's a dog.
Well, she never played with dolls, ever.
No, I wanted
Not
my
ever.
animals.
She had dolls, but,
Well, why would she need to? She had 2 horses.
well, yeah, you know. I mean, even when she was a baby in the store, she'd play with the little critters.
Yeah,
Always.
I wanted the animals, still want the animals. The day before,
He passed.
yeah, he was responsive and he was trying to make me laugh. And he'd always do this stupid thing with his eyebrows. I don't even know how you get your eyebrows up to your like hairline. And we all know Daddy's hairline was pretty far back, but he did it. And I was laughing hysterically, and the nurse came in and she goes, "What is wrong?" I'm like, "He's being stupid." She's like, "He's almost not responsive." I'm like, "No, you don't understand." And he was trying to make me feel better because I was crying. And he never wanted to see me cry. The day that we lost him, that morning, we went down to Kentucky, just us 6, to go get a new puppy.
Which had been planned for over 6
Yeah,
weeks.
it had been, we had bought the puppy prior to him even being born, so it just worked out really weird. And I know that was Dad giving me my puppy, giving me my animal. Probably one of my favorite things about him that I would tease him mercilessly, because everybody's seen Beauty and the Beast, the animated version. Dad is Maurice. Hardcore. Just, like, Dad is Belle's dad. He says, "Do hate a Klitcher." He will make things out of nothing. I mean,
I'll be right
that my dad is a Disney dad.
back.
The Sultan in Aladdin playing with the toys, that was Dad. Going to Disneyland and Disney World,
That was the best.
so much fun. Even before we had Xander, when we could skip all the lines, we saw everything there. Dad made sure that we saw everything there. I know every Disney song in the catalog because Dad would sing it with me. I'm 40 years old and he would still sing to me Zippity Doo Dah if I was having an anxiety attack. He would call me and just sing Zippity Doo Dah. And get mad when I wouldn't laugh. or if I snort too hard, then he'd slip to Dilly Dilly by Earl Up with who's that with it?
No.
You missed it.
Yeah, that Sandberg and Dad was always so supportive with all of the babies. He loved them all so much. To the last, he blamed himself for Isabel's accident, which you never know happened to her. He worried constantly about Zanny. Worried about Di, who's, by the way, wearing one of Dad's outfits. Diamond has been elegantly outfitted for probably the next 2 years. Thanks to Dad.
Well, then you need to buy him a few new shirts because your dad didn't always match.
That's probably true.
That's exactly why I did it. It doesn't match.
Well, yeah, it did.
It doesn't match his clothes. Why I do it?
I don't think I could have had a better daddy. And I'm just super grateful. Because I know where he is. It's frustrating because I can't even be mad that he's gone. I'm just mad that I
You
can't
just
talk to
there,
him.
nothing, you did that all the time.
Oh.
Let me give you 3 things that counteract what Bev said about nobody ever said anything nice about him.
Not nice. Not nice.
I still, it turned out good, but the fact is that he wanted me to wear a hairpiece. So I wore his
we
hairpiece.
could get around that.
All the stories.
And it was nothing, you know. By the time I got there, it was a nervous wreck.
And it was really bad advice.
It was bad advice.
It was bad advice for both of them.
Another thing was, when I rode the school bus, the year that, this is for the family, and not particularly Larry, we had to run down, we used to take the school bus on the 10th Street onto the school. Well, that year they decided that we had to go down, all the way down the road here and pick this family up. And that meant more time for me on the school bus, because I was the first on the school bus. And we fussed about that all the time. Having that extra run down there to pick these kids up, when Morse Woods, we used to pick them up, which is right down the street here from. The third thing, there was, I worked so hard for Larry. When we had the interlock business, I had a heart attack. And so that kind of shut our interlock business, but it was nice working with him. That's my thought.
Just post-it to John's hairpiece. Larry had me wear one. The only thing is I had to get it for me, and I had to catch an airplane. And while I was on the airplane,
Did he not pin it in?
We
chase his down the hill when you were skiing, didn't
Oh,
you?
honey, that's a story I have to tell.
What?
We went skiing.
Oh.
This is after he got his hairpiece. I mean, it always bothered him that his hair was going, but it never bothered me because it was such a gradual thing, I guess. And I just loved him. I didn't care. But it bothered him, and so he went to hair club for men and got this thing. And they styled it. And the first few times it looked really good. And then I don't know what happened. It just kind of shriveled up or got big or something. I don't know. I couldn't even make it look good, you know. So we go out to Bruce and Linda's up north, and we're gonna go skiing downhill. So on the way up, he's saying, "Do you think I ought to wear it, or do you think I shouldn't?" I said, "I don't care. If you want to wear it. If you don't, don't. It doesn't matter." Well, somehow he got that I thought he should wear it, so he wore it. So we're at the top of the hill, and he says, "I'll race you down." And I thought, okay, come on, let's go, you know, because I'm pretty coordinated, and I water ski since I was little. So I beat him, of course, you know, and I turned around, I'm standing there, and here he comes, you know, and he's going down, you know, and I can see the look on his face, and it's not good, you know. And all of a sudden he goes forward, and the ski comes off the back, and he's like this, with his legs out, his arms out, trying to grab for that ski, you know, and then his hat starts to roll, and then the hair just separated. I am dying, you know, and he's going, "Get it! I go, "I can't!" And up here, all these skiers are going up the hill, and they're going, "Oh, look at that!" I thought I was gonna die. If I'd have had a camera, if I'd have just had a camera, I would be a rich woman today. He got down to the end, he finally did get it, but you know what? I don't think he ever wore it after that. I really don't. He gave it to you after that. Oh, that was so funny. Oh my gosh, that was so funny. So is it my turn? Okay. Larry was the love of my life. He was so good to me. I don't know how I got him. I was so needy. He was the best guy for me. He took care of me. He loved me so much. He made everybody around him a better person. He did. He made you strive to want to do better. And he taught me the gospel. And I'll be eternally grateful for that. I don't know where I'd be if I hadn't married him. I really don't. He was a great father, an exceptionally great father. He was a hard worker. And it didn't matter what we did, we had fun at it, you know. And our motto was, you gotta work the rest of your life, you might as well do something you like and have fun. And so everything we did, whether it was back breaking or whatever, I remember we worked in the cannery, and I thought, well, if I work the heavy stuff, I'll get $1 extra an hour, you know. So I'm picking up gallon things of mayonnaise. Well, you know, the first 10 are okay, but all night? And he was up here mixing, and I'm on the line trying to pick 2 up at once and put them in a box. Well, I was skinny, I had no muscles. So he would run down when he'd see I get behind. He'd run down and he'd get me ahead, and then he'd run back up. And he never had anything bad to say about anybody. Never. His family was the most important thing in this world. And he loved me completely and taught me how to love completely. just don't. We had 48 good years. You better be waiting for me. I told him, I said, you know, you go do what you gotta do up there. But when I get there, you better be waiting. And I know he will.
He'll probably show up late.
What'd you say?
He'll show up late, but
He will. Probably.
Not the only one.
The real question is why she shows
I
up
said, I'm not the only one that knows that.
Who could not know? You had to be.
Because Uncle Kenny's always late too.
Yeah.
He actually. Anybody else?
Tracy,
What?
didn't you have something you wanted to say?
Well,
Well, no, do I? I'm supposed to read this. I'm supposed to read. I'm not supposed to think. But after listening, I do have a thought or two.
So
But Jane wants to hear this at the end. Stop micromanaging. She's got a show here.
So read it.
That's several today.
Say your thoughts.
Come on with it.
Are you ready for this?
I am.
But first,
That's what I thought.
working late at this shop. See, I hadn't thought of these things until I heard you guys talking. There's a couple things I was thinking about, but I think it's interesting that when we remember somebody and share our thoughts about somebody, it almost tells more about ourselves than about him, because we're seeing ourselves through him. And he's been in my face all week, or a month, or perhaps all my life, but I can remember actually missing school because I was at the shop with Mom all night for the hobby show.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought it was so cool because it was so grown up. And it was Uncle Larry. So to this day, I'm 56 and can't do my times tables to 8s and 9s. But I can tie a bow. I can arrange flowers with dimension. And the music that he would listen to when we'd work all night.
Yeah.
On albums. And to this day, I still listen to Barbra Streisand.
Absolutely.
I left that shop with a little bit of class.
Very good.
I could hire somebody to do my timetables. And let's talk about the shop. My shop is 21 years old and it's a restaurant, and we've never ever called it a restaurant or a cafe. People will ask me, how's your restaurant? How's your cafe? So I have to work at the shop, the shop. I've always called it a shop, and I realize it's because my Uncle Larry had a shop. Working with Grandma for 18 years at the shop, there were times when she would say, that was so much like Larry. And it was usually about one of two things. Working until the job was done regardless of the hour, and I think everybody in this family knows how to do that. They'll work around the clock until it's done. Bill doesn't, to this day, relate to that.
Well, he always waited to the last minute.
Well, so not keeping track of time because you were working on something, or doing something unwise with money, and being told that was so Larry, or dipping the punch out of the thermos into Jane's dispenser, and I took the pitcher that had the lid on it and tried to dip it, and all it did was make punch go everywhere because the lid was still on my dipper, and Bill laughing so hard he's crying, and him saying, that was so like Larry. And who would think it was funny that we would all be gathered and then be poured on with rain? Who would think that was funny?
Dad.
I rest my case. When I was probably first grade or younger, Christmas Eve was always at Grandma Pete's house, and the Dotsons were always at Grandma Dotson's house. So the only kids on Christmas Eve with my aunts and uncles and my grandparents were Brenda and Tracy. And again, it was magical because it was a grown-up environment. We finished eating and it's time to open the presents, and there's no Larry, but he was, and I'm all over the present thing, so I was gonna find out where he was, and he was with you in the studio, when the studio was in the house here, and he was finishing wrapping presents, but there was a horse, a little ivory horse on a black stand that had broken off, and it was Brenda's gift, and he was holding it together because he was trying to get it to dry, to get it wrapped, to get it under the tree because it's time to open presents. And he was so upset, and he said, this is going to break her heart. And I remember thinking, dude, it's a horse. Where's the good stuff? You know what I mean? She'll get over it. She's got more. Believe me, she's got more. But he was so intent about, and it was only like this big of a statue. He was so intent in getting this just right and then getting it wrapped. I remember,
I still have it.
you know what's on the back. When I was a large newborn, and my aunt on my father's side of the family said that I was as big as a bear. And so as a kid, I was Tracy Bear or Bear, and everybody called me that as a kid, and Uncle Larry always called me Bear. And this week, when I would see a watering can that came from the shop, how did I get that? Or my face in the mirror, when I shaved, I could see. And I thought, with all these seasons in our lives, and our relationships with our families change, and kids grow older, and I'm growing older, and I'm not sure how graceful I am about it. I remember thinking, we can't keep losing people because who else? And who's gonna call me Bear? There isn't anybody else anymore that calls me. So you want me to read this poem? And then we're gonna go outside. And then we're gonna let off the balloons.
Did you want to say?
You need a break first. I can do this. We could shed tears because Larry is gone, but we will smile because he lived. We could close our eyes and pray that he will come back, but we will open our eyes and see all that he did. Our hearts could be empty because he's not near, but our hearts would be full of love, of the love that we shared. We could turn our backs and live only in yesterdays, but we will be happy for tomorrow because of yesterdays. We could remember him only that he's gone, but we will cherish his memory and let it live on. We could cry and close our minds, be empty and turn our backs, but we will do what Larry wants. Smile, open our eyes, love, and go on. Can we go outside?
Are we absolutely sure it's not raining?
No.
Yeah, I found it out there in the grass, yeah.
So we're just gonna go out and let a balloon go for Dad, Grandpa, Larry, Uncle Larry.
You can stop.
Don't look too much. I'm not gonna see it.
So much for taking this one to get healed.
Yeah.
I'm still going. You want to go outside?
Take a picture of
Okay, I'll cut the chair. You wanna go right off the balloon?
Well, they already did.
Yep. We're going outside to let the balloon go.
How dare you kick my shoes at me?
Well, Grandma's coming this way, so.
How dare they?
I'm going down my shoes.
Oh, it got hot.
Come here.
Yeah.
Zanny, come here.
Now when he's being the pool folk.
Okay, I just want to say, if some of them kind of dawdle along, you'll know. These really are Uncle Larry's balloons.
Do you want to hold it? We have to hold it.
That's what I said. Out by the pool?
Are we going out by the pool?
I think the tree will catch him if we don't.
You know what's the other thing Papa would do? Can you keep where you put me and I will like you. Actually, I'm gonna
If you'll come to the rail, I'll put it down for you. Because I think they're gonna go over by the pool, if you wanna go that far. You hold the rail and we'll get there. Okay. Thank you. And if you need to stop, stop, but I think they're going right around there. I'm not sure how far. We'll give them ground feet. This will be yours.
Stephenson, Daddy, and Ellie. She didn't hear you. Stop.
Okay. Here we have. Wait a minute. We have to hold the balloon. Don't you run off and you make it.
Hey.
Here, Marie, I'll trade you. Marie, I'll trade you. Now, Daddy, they can get yours and come over.
Everybody got a balloon?
Does everybody have one? I don't have one.
Carol doesn't have one. We may need to give Tommy a different one. Yeah, they start using air. Yeah.
Okay, are we ready?
Mine's not gonna go up. I think that's a bad omen for me.
Try that one.
Oh, crap.
Oh, we're going?
Watch out, Brenda. Mine just hit the ground.
First went in the pool. Or what?
Oh, no. It's the one in the water.
That's going
Yes, it is. Diamond, you missed.
Now, sure, we wanted them to stay in the pool that year.
You ran out of hot air?
The whole pool. I really don't care. No, Mom's working. Some of them are way down. Because we all came some way out.
Yeah.
Well, what a great day to swim. I know. We should get in the pool.